Here we're going to look at the point of jealousy, nastiness, spitefulness, and sarcasm as a condition of the human nature, a specific mind entity, a specific personality trait, as a traitor against, where one becomes a traitor against life, basically. And I'm going to look at the point of the experience of self as this point from the experience of what it is like to exist within this state of mind, which is, it can be characterized as a disease and as a condition, because one is existing within this mental reality of nastiness and is actually harming oneself and is harming everyone else, or potentially harming everyone else, and requires support to stop, requires support to realize what oneself is doing. And within this, one of the points that I've seen in looking at it from my own experience and from experiencing this state of mind, this personality in general, there is a point of self-infatuation that can be heard in the voice of the person speaking. And this experience within and as the mind, as the person is attacking, and often it will be this point of making jokes and being seemingly funny, or even nice, even kind, and yet the voice, the tonality, the sound of the voice will be sharp and smooth at the same time. And the experience within self, in the point of being this voice of speaking this spitefulness, this backchat, is a feeling of power, and I'm winning, and I'm crushing you. But behind that, behind this entire personality trait, is almost like one of those classic images of a little scared child sitting in the dark in the corner shaking. This experience of being rejected, actually. This experience of being excluded, of not being welcomed, of being inferior, that is actually then projected onto others, and within the belief that one now has to fight to win, one now has to fight over others and win over them. All of this is going on as ego, as this point of the self-defense mechanism. But what happens is that one becomes nasty and spiteful and deliberately mean, and deliberately want to take others down and want them to feel bad, because the reality of one's own experience is that one feels like shit about oneself. And instead of facing that, and instead of realizing that why and how we've created this experience for ourselves, how and why we've defined ourselves within and as this experience, one then abdicates the self-responsibility and separates oneself from having created this entity, and now go on a crusade towards others. And another point that I saw in looking at it as well was that what happens is that the person who is existing within this condition is completely embalmed or wrapped within this experience as a complete one-dimensional mental reality, as a mind possession, where one has no direction, no actual direction, because what is directing is this point of ego. And what I saw from myself is that, and also in general in looking at it, is that the point where this behavior and this disease, this disorder begins, is at school. This is something that is learned and developed at school, in school experiences. It can also be from something that we're learning from parents, but often it will be coming from these role-playing and competitions and these games of survival between children that is being taught by adults and that is being facilitated by adults, because that is the mirror that the children have for how to exist. Believing that we have to fight each other, that we have to be nasty, that we have to be sarcastic. And everyone that experiences this or has existed within this point of spitefulness and jealousy and nastiness will most likely recognize this point of that when we were small children, we were not sarcastic, we were not nasty to this extent. It was actually something that we had to deliberately develop, deliberately learn and see how others did, and copy that behavior so that we could do it ourselves, eventually ending up in this experience of self-infatuation as immense self-abuse and immense self-spite. Actually that is what it is. And this is where self-forgiveness has assisted me immensely to, first of all, be able to face myself within and as this point, be able to look myself in the eye and realize that I have existed within and as this personality, and that I am responsible for it. Then it is no one else who creates my experience within and as myself, and that if there is a point of sarcasm, nastiness, spitefulness towards others, it is about me, and I do not accept myself to exert it onto other people. If I do, I bring it back to self. I stop and I bring it back to self, and I forgive myself. I forgive myself because within doing so, I stop, I release that point, and I prepare myself to walk through this personality, meaning that the next time where I'm faced with a situation where I would have, for example, allowed myself to be nasty or be spiteful, I can stop and I don't have to live like that anymore. I can free myself, and I don't have to defend myself anymore, because I trust myself to stand and I trust myself to speak. And this is the process that we're walking. This is the process that everyone can walk for themselves. And all it requires are these very basic tools of writing, of pushing and allowing ourselves to write out these patterns and these experiences, and to realize our own responsibility within that we are always the starting point of our own experiences. And then it actually is possible to live and exist here without this personality, without this entity. And it is possible to face oneself within that and stop existing in one-dimensional mental realities, get back to earth, so that we can sort out what is here and start living together in a way that is dignified, and where everyone is enjoying themselves, enjoying each other, and enjoying each other's expressions equally, without experiencing jealousy or judgment. So for anyone who is or has been having these experiences, or who recognizes this point, I suggest investigating self-forgiveness, investigate self-honesty. It is not necessarily fun initially to face ourselves within these points, but the more that we push through the resistance, through the fear, through the self-dishonesty, the more we realize that it is possible to stand up and to live as a dignified human being in equality here on this earth. Thank you.